All right, this is my daily update for my build and public log. It's January 17th, 2025. All right, I have another good update for today. I will be demoing a bit more the event scheduling AI agent that I've been working on. Um, but first, my random story for today. Fast forward if you don't want to hear it. Yeah, I wear this hat that I got this last year, well, a few months ago. I'm in a community called Starter Story. You can go Google that. It's a community for entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs. Uh, and there's a bunch of case studies in there for how successful companies became successful. You know, what did the founders do? It's more geared towards solo entrepreneurs or very, very small teams, like two or three people, not kind of bigger companies, although some of them do become big companies, obviously, if you're successful enough. So anyways, part of the philosophy is you do deep work every day. And there's like courses to help you get figure out how to actually build a successful internet company. So the philosophy of deep work uh, has resonated with me for many years now. So I've worked remotely since 2015, so long before COVID happened, and it was an adjustment. I think a lot of people during COVID got that rude awakening and had to figure out how to effectively work remotely very quickly. It's kind of a learning curve for me to learn how to like actually get shit done while working remote. It's actually not for everyone. I think some people are better suited not doing remote work. But for me, I loved it. And a couple of years into that journey, I discovered Pomodoro. So it's originally called Pomodoro because the guy who invented it used a little Italian uh, kitchen timer that looks like a tomato. And so he would set it for 25 minutes. So the idea is you have a task in mind and you focus on one singular task, like flat out, only that one thing for that whole entire session of 25 minutes. So no checking Slack messages or your phone or Instagram or email. Like you have a specific task. Like for me, okay, I'm going to write unit tests for my AI agent. Um, I set my timer and I only do that for that entire session of deep work. You don't do anything else. And then after that session, you take a break. Usually it's 5 minutes, but after a couple of sessions, it goes up and you get like a long break, 20 minutes. You know, there's a kind of a simple algorithm there. Uh, for me, I I 25 minutes is just like way too short. So over time, I built up to 55 minutes. To me, this is the sweet spot because after 55 minutes, my brain starts to wander and I'm like, okay, I need just a little break here. So for me, 55 minutes and then a 5 minute break. And then after two sessions, that 25-minute break is ideal. That works best for me. So what this means is I have a goal, okay, for the day, and I go, okay, I want to get four Pomodoro sessions, you know, working on XYZ for the day. So years ago, when I was like a couple of years into working remotely, I discovered this, okay? And I was like, my mind was blown by this, and I was like, I'm gonna do 8 hours of Pomodoro sessions, you know, 16 sessions on my day job. I'm gonna kill it. And I jumped right into it, and I tried to do that because I'm like, well, you're supposed to work 8 hours a day, so I'm gonna do 8 hours worth of Pomodoros. That's 16. Uh, Let me tell you, folks, it does not work that way. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious to anyone watching this. Yes, you're supposed to work traditionally 8 hours a day, But no one, you're not a computer. You're not an AI agent or whatever. You cannot just sit there and do focus work and like flat out for 8 hours straight. Or, I mean, sure, you get like a break for lunch or whatever. I discovered uh, you could work you could work your full day very compressed into a small chunk of time and get just as much work done as everybody else. So that's what I did. I started, I was working remote. No one knows really how long I'm sitting there in front of the computer. So I said, I won't say exactly, I'm not going to say publicly, not yet. One day when I have like fuck you money from my business, then I'll say whatever I want. But for now, I'm not gonna say exactly how many sessions or how many hours, but let's just say I was getting all my work done a little earlier than 8 hours. But hear me out. I it's not easy to work a concentrated like let's say like 5 hours. Like I got my goal is 5 hours. 5 hours of deep concentrated work is a lot. That's more than most people actually get done in a day. Most people it's like one or two, believe it or not. Most like good knowledge workers, software engineers, people who work doing stuff on the computer probably do about four. So I set myself a goal, and every single day I showed up and got that number of Pomodoro sessions done. And guess what the feedback always was every place I worked? Oh, you're one of the most like productive people at the company or on the team. I always would hear stuff like that. I've flat out been told to my face, you would just get more done than most people here. I've survived multiple layoff rounds, and I would hear that like they just don't get as much done as you. I live and die by Pomodoro. It works for me. It may not work for you, but give it a try if it sounds interesting. Um, I love it because it will remove guilt. So hear me out. If you are um, an entrepreneur, for example, or you have a day job and it's remote, and you're at home, and there's not a clear division of like going to the office, working, go home and done. If you don't have that separation, sometimes you can feel guilty you're not working hard enough. So the beautiful thing about it for me is you set that damn Pomodoro timer and you have a very clear like, oh, I'm going to do like 4 sessions, like or 5 sessions, whatever. And if you get it done, you can close the computer and you don't feel like you need to work more. You hit your goal. That's a lot of goddamn work. Most people are not getting done. And if they do, they'll do it one day and then not the next day, and then one day and not the next day. Like consistently showing up every day and putting in those concentrated deep work hours, that's significant. And you're gonna be one of the best people at the company or team. Showing up and working on something daily, doing that, you'll be way ahead of the curve. So, anyways, I discovered that, and I've done it ever since. So, uh, the deep work, I'm all about it. Now, one last thing I'll say about Pomodoro: it's okay to have a Pomodoro session where you're answering email, but that needs to be like the only thing you're doing for that whole session. So, anyways, moving on. I did a good deep work session right now. And actually, I did too, but anyways. So the agent is coming along nicely. Um, it's actually working. It's actually giving me the real date and time. Um, so let's look at this really quickly. Look at when the AI or the LLM, when it gets this response, it's getting the email and it's saying, please add this to my calendar. But look at, there's actually two dates and time here. So it needs to actually figure out what is the real one. It actually did it here. It worked fantastically. Now this is on my calendar. When you're working on an AI agent, you have a few levers you gotta kind of pull on, just to get this thing right and working perfectly. The two main ones are obviously the prompt. So the prompt is extremely important. You have to write out a very detailed prompt Hey, give me JSON, give me text, give me this thing, give me this format, give me these properties. You need to very, very clearly define the prompt. And there's a lot of gotchas when you're making the prompt because it may appear to be working, but then there's all these edge cases where it's not actually working. So it's vital that you test it very heavily. So prompting and what goes in and out of the prompt is extremely important. So pretend these are levers. This is the input, and then you got an output that goes somewhere up, and you do something with that. It's very common to request JSON and have it spit out JSON, and you do something with JSON in your code. That's what I'm doing for this agent. And then, of course, you got to not only get the prompt right, but you got to also play around with the model because you have a lot of considerations. Cost, speed, maybe you need to actually stream the result. For this use case, I have plenty of time to wait, so speed isn't that big of a deal for this use case, but maybe you do need speed. Cost is a huge one. God damn AI APIs are expensive. Thank God there's competition. Thank God it's not only OpenAI, or the price would be very high. There's stiff competition right now. It's forcing the prices down, but some of the models are insanely expensive. O1, and now there was just talk today that O3 is about to drop. This is going to be so expensive. So pricing is sometimes a huge factor in a lot of projects, because what if you're calling the LLM a lot? Like, what if it needs to like double check, triple check, and then call a bunch of stuff? I've seen some products where it calls an LLM every few seconds. So the cost is a huge factor there. So it has to use like the mini models that are much quicker. So you need to play around a lot and pull that lever up and down to figure out like how to get the agent to successfully and consistently give you the right thing you want. And you got to tweak the prompt, you got to tweak the inputs, because sometimes it's a matter of getting those inputs right. You just cannot rely on text. You have to like use real code to massage the data coming, the inputs into that prompt and get that right. Sometimes that's the magic trick is, oh, okay, look, I'm actually programmatically injecting a lot of real things and real examples. So you got to play with those things, and sometimes you got to tweak the settings on the model. The temperature is a big one because you want it to be more deterministic. You don't want it to just randomly keep spinning out different results. You want it to be stricter and tighter in the responses. There's various settings you might need to play around with. It depends on your use case, of course. So this is what I've done a lot of the last couple of days is playing around. I really wanted the GPT 4.0 mini to work because it's just so damn fast and cheap. It really is kind of, in my opinion, the sweet spot for a lot of tasks between cost, speed, and accuracy. But it looks like I might have to go with a slightly more expensive model. I don't know. I need to do more benchmark testing. But how do you do the benchmark testing? You have to write a lot of tests. You got to write a lot of automated tests where you've really thought through all the edge cases, and you need a bunch of tests where you can just swap out the model, tweak the prompt, and make sure things are working according to the plan, to how you think they should be working. It can be tricky. These are all things you got to carefully balance. So that's what I've been working on a lot, and I tweaked a bunch of code based on putting the agent into my real code base and starting to use it. I quickly saw like, yeah, I need to tweak a lot of things. So that's what I've been working on. It's coming along nicely. I have almost all my tests passing in one or two different models. So it's tricky. It's not easy. But that is exactly what I'm hoping to build, is that this balance is achieved. And that's what I'm striving to teach people to do, and the agents I'm striving to build. have that balance. So, all right, that's all I got for today. It is Friday. Happy Friday, all. It is a 3-day weekend for most people in the U.S., so happy 3-day weekend.